break away from the herd that they're born into. Now, females are different. Females are much more herd-oriented, and they will spend their entire lives as a part of a group. Now, the group is a family unit, so they are all related in one way or another. And they are led by a dominant matriarch. Now, the matriarch is usually the oldest of the group, and we also say that she is the wisest, because elephants actually have an amazing memory. They will remember just about everything that they come across throughout their entire lives. So since the matriarch is the oldest, that means she has been around the longest and has the most and best memory of all of the great watering holes and feeding grounds that the herd has ever traveled to in the past and may need to travel to in the future in order to survive. So the rest of the herd will happily follow her lead because they know that she knows where she is going.
Rory, where are we?
Now, we are traveling
in Disney World?
Elephant territory a little bit deeper, and as we do so, we are passing through some red clay pits. And as we do so, keep a lookout. You might notice some tusk marks or footprints on either side of the red clay. That is a good indicator that elephants have migrated through here recently. They actually like to eat red clay because it is rich in minerals that provide nutrients they need in their everyday diet that they might not necessarily be able to find in other places. So we say that red clay is kind of like the elephant's own multivitamin. Now it does look like over here on the left hand side we are approaching a herd. So this is a group of females. Now if this is the group of females, I believe it is, this is actually a mother and a daughter and then a pair of sisters all living together. So they're not all exactly related, but they all do have family ties that keep them in this herd together. Now they are led by a dominant matriarch, like I said. We will see if we can point her out. She has one tusk, so she's pretty easy to point out and see against the other one. Now, unfortunately, elephants are poached for their tusks. Their tusks are made of ivory, which is a very valuable source in a lot of different countries. However, there are much more sustainable sources that you can use instead of ivory. So, unfortunately, that is still trying to be reintroduced to save these elephants. Now, as we pass them by, you'll also notice that a lot of them have what look like debris across their backs. They do that to themselves, and they do it on purpose because elephants actually have very sensitive skin that burns pretty easily in the harsher rays of the Savannah sun. But since they don't have name brand sunscreen like we do, they will throw dirt, mud, and other debris across their backs in order to protect themselves. It also looks like they're having their morning breakfast. Elephants can eat up to 300 pounds worth of food in a day. So a lot of food is being eaten. That's actually about the same weight as a newborn calf as well. Now over here on the left-hand side, there is a flamboyant. Now flamboyant is what we call a group of flamingo, and that is because of their coloration. Now these are greater flamingo. They are the largest of the species and the lightest of pink. But flamingo are actually not born pink. They're actually born gray, and they develop their pink coloration over time from their diet. That diet consists mainly of brine shrimp. Brine shrimp does have a property in it called beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is what makes carrots orange, and in turn, at about 2 years of age, it makes flamingos pink. But we are now going to continue on. We are now traveling out of elephant territory officially and deeper into the forest we are going to go. We are passing by a mud wallow, which is a good indicator that there are probably species in the area, because a lot of species do use mud as a means of protection, just like the elephant does, in order to keep their skin nice and protected, and also as a great way to cool down. Now, I do believe that one of those species is up ahead on the right-hand side, and I believe that species is actually the white rhino, so we'll see if they're hanging out. In fact, it does look like they are. So these are white rhinos. It looks like they might also be traveling towards us. Oh no, she's gonna stop. Alright. This is Mom and a youngster there. Now, like I said, they are named for the upper lip that they have. Their name actually comes from the Afrikaans word "vite." Vite does mean wide, not white. So it was a bit of a mistranslation when being brought over to the English language. Now, it did look like they had their eyes on us. They actually did not. Rhino are almost completely blind. They can only see about 10 feet in front of them. So instead, they will use their sense of hearing to be able to figure out what's going on. So those ears are cupped and can turn all the way around on their head. So they can tell that we're here, just not by their sight. Now, if you look up on this hillside here, you're going to spot 2 cheetah laying down, and a little bit further down, the third one is up and walking around. Cheetah are the fastest land animal in the world, though. They can get up to about 70 miles per hour, and they can reach that speed in about 3 seconds. Now, they don't hold the speed for too long because it does take a lot of energy to reach that speed, and it takes about 30 minutes for them to cool down once they've reached that speed. So they'll only do it if absolutely necessary. It does look like there's one more laying down here, and then the 5th one is up and walking around as well. So all 5 cheetah are in fact out today. That's nice to see. They are all female and they are all sisters. Now we are going to continue on though. We're going to see what else we can find because we have officially reached the Kopi Rocks. Now the Kopi Rocks is a favorite hangout spot for a lot of different species, so we will see who is out and about hanging out over here by the Kopis. I know that the rest of the crash of rhino is probably over here. In fact, it does look like they will be on the right-hand side of the truck. And it looks like the lion is over here on the left-hand side. So he's up on the rock there. And he is demonstrating what lions do all day, every day. And that is, of course, sleep. So lions will sleep for about 20 hours a day while the sun is up. And then once the sun starts to go down, they will become more active. This is because they are nocturnal. So the females will be the ones that get up and go out to hunt for the prey, while the male will hang back and guard the territory. Now he does do this by roaring. A lion's roar can actually be heard up to 6 miles away, and it's basically their way of telling other lions to back off. Now it does look like we will be continuing on around the Kopis, and we'll see if there's any other species over here. In fact, I do think I see one on the left-hand side. You'll just see the head of a warthog behind that fallen down tree. Warthogs are the largest species of burrowing animal in the world. They will dig their burrows out with their tusks, and then they will back into them with their tusks facing out, just to ward off any predators or competition that might come poking around. It does look like the entire crash is over here on the right-hand side. Now, like I said, they have terrible eyesight, which is why we call a group of them a crash. It's another good way you can tell that these are white rhino, because black rhino are generally solitary. They will spend their time alone, and white rhino will almost always be found in a group. The white rhino is also a little bit bigger than the black rhino at 5,000 pounds, where the black rhino is about 3,000. But it does look like we are now going to start traveling out of the savannah officially, and we are going to head into a place called Magadi Glen. Now, Magadi Glen is where our warden's post is. So we're going to swing by and say hello to the warden and to the Nigerian dwarf goats that appear to have taken up residence on the warden's roof. They are great climbers. They're a small species of dairy goats. Very cute, very easy to upkeep because they do not take up too much room. And they do provide a very rich milk that farmers in Africa can sell for a profit. So, very useful livestock animal. Now, something else that farmers in Africa will use is actually sitting in the middle of the yard. It's that big yellow structure there. That is a beehive, and it will be utilized in a beehive fence. Now, the beehive fence was first created because not long ago in Africa, there was actually conflict between the farmers and the elephants. And this is because the farmers were laying their croplands down in the middle of elephant migration. Now, elephants, like I said earlier, have an amazing memory. They remember these past pathways to be where they needed to travel, and they weren't going to change them just because there were croplands there. So they'd end up walking right through them, raiding them and destroying them as they went, which upset the farmers and created a very negative situation between the two parties. So a bunch of different conservation efforts around the world started trying to come up with a peaceful solution. And that peaceful solution was actually found right here on the Harambe Reserve, because around the same time we were studying the elephants, and through our studies we learned that elephants are actually afraid of bees. And when they hear bees buzzing in an area, they will tend to steer clear. The reason being for this is because elephants have very sensitive skin, and the venom of the African honeybee is pretty potent. So it hurts pretty bad when they get stung. Now we took this knowledge that we had learned about the elephants and the bees, and we got together with the conservation effort that was happening in Africa, and all together we came up with the idea for the beehive fence. So now those fences are utilized to surround those croplands, and the elephants have learned to stay away. They have found newer and safer migration paths that are much easier for them to travel on, as well as the bee population being helped out and going up in Africa. And because they are the ones keeping the bees, the farmers also benefit, because not only are their croplands now safe, but they also get to sell the honey that the bees produce for a profit. So you could say that it is a win-win-win for all parties involved.
Oh, you took your shoes off? You gotta put them back on?
Now, my friends, we are going to be sticking together for a little bit longer than we normally would today. We will be getting off at the same place that we got on today. So we will be bypassing these two docks here and continuing on our way. But if you enjoyed seeing any of the animals out on reserve today, and you would like to see any